Hey guys, thank you for joining us at the Media Makes Us podcast. I'm your host, Chae Jones, and today I have the honor of interviewing Emmy nominated Ashleigh Crystal Hairston. Let's get into the conversation. So, this entire podcast is about what shaped you into who you are, as well as the media that you shaped.
Okay.
Because we're all shaped by the media, consciously, unconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to know from you to start off with is who inspired you or what inspired you down this path that you're on now?
Wow. Okay, so my first instance of being inspired by something, on TV or something in media was watching Bill Cosby, the Cosby Show. I know I shouldn't say that name, but
I mean, we can. This is a type of situation we're going to separate the art from the artist.
Great, thank you.
Because
Yes,
we can't. As what he did was wrong. As much as it was really wrong.
Oh yeah,
we cannot discount the cultural impact
Yeah.
that the Cosby Show brought to life.
Yeah. And matter of fact, let me just take it back. My first experience of being inspired by something on media was a family named the Huxtables.
Love it.
Yes. So I used to watch the Cosby Show growing up. And that was like the first, image I saw of a Black family together on television. I was very young, and seeing the Huxtables as a family. They had, I think, 5 kids, and I'm the youngest of 5 in my family. And so I just always, sort of related to that family dynamic, that Black family dynamic. 2-parent household. Both parents are, having, their own independent careers. And then, having just these, older siblings. I always identified with Raven Simone. She was like the youngest, and then Rudy Huxtable too. She was the youngest child. So I always saw myself in those 2 characters. And I remember specifically when the show went off air, I remember crying. I remember like watching the very, final episode, and I was a kid and I was crying, and I called my cousin on a landline. We, back in the day, we had landline telephones. But I called her. I like pulled the phone from my parents' room, and it had this long, long cord. I dragged it all the way down the hallway to my bedroom, and I called my cousin Carla, who was my best friend. And I told her, I was like, I can't believe they're gone. Where did they go? I'm so sad. They're leaving us forever. And she explained to me that they were actors.
No, like,
and
don't
that
say
it
that.
was a TV
Don't say
show.
that. It was real to me.
She was like, well, it's not real. They are actors, and, it's the end of the season and they can come back, And I remember thinking, oh, you could, like, that's a thing you can do. You can go and just get to live this life out every day as like, a job. And so I remember thinking, that's so fun. I want to do that. I want to be an actor. I want to be in a family like that. I want to be, on TV.
That's funny for me. Like, the thing that got me when I wanted to be in the industry, it was because I was watching That's a Raven. And you want to actually know the moment it was?
Which one?
It was a guest star.
Oh.
And they said a line, and I hated the delivery.
A director already.
No, literally, I was just like, I did not like the delivery. Delivery felt so wrong to me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I could have said that better.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
I really thought I could have said that better.
That's hilarious.
And I was just like, okay, I might know the path I want to pursue.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Fascinating.
It was legit. That's a Raven. I was just like, I was in front of the TV. I'm like, ask my parents. They can tell you. I spent a lot of time in front of a TV.
Yeah,
it was watching that. I was just like, I really cannot stand to this day. I'm like, I cannot stand the way.
It's so fascinating that we are who we were as children, as adults. We're the same. You don't really think about it like that, but like the things that we were interested in, we loved. Those really did shape, who we are. Yeah. A lot of my favorite shows too were, I mean, I grew up in the 90s, so I was like very much a Full House kid. I was Full House, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Family Matters, Saved by the Bell, of course. Those were like my top TV shows that I grew up on. Yeah. Cosby Show, Full House, Step by Step, Family Matters.
I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know if any of these are
love Step by Step
like,
theme song. Like I'm not gonna like
Step by Step.
it was on reruns by the time
Yes.
I was old enough, but it was just like, dang, this is such a good like no, something like some theme songs are just so iconic, like to this day.
Yes.
Like you could just recall it off straight memory.
And I learned too, way later, that the guy who sang the intro, the theme songs for like Family Matters, Step by Step, Full House, all the same person. And now you know why. Like they sound exactly the same now looking back, but they were totally, it didn't resonate back then.
The vibes are different though. I think that's what also like the same person might have done this, but all the vibes for each shows are so different. And like now you're older, the full frontal lobe is just like, oh no, they actually sound, it doesn't matter because they were different.
They were totally different. Oh my gosh. Now I'm having flashbacks. Step by Step, the roller coaster and that thing, so fun. I mean, come on.
It's iconic.
Yeah, it's iconic. It's so good.
No, I'm curious about, because you said that the Cosby Show really, that's what really made you want to get on this path.
Yeah.
How does voice over acting come into play?
Oh my
into
goodness.
That? Was it something you thought you were going to be doing or something that totally surprised you?
Totally surprised me. But if you ask everyone else who knows me, they all say, yeah, duh, we knew that a long time ago. But I grew up hating my voice, unfortunately, sad to say. But I grew up and I was, I'm from Bellevue, Washington, which is just outside of Seattle, like 10 minutes outside of Seattle. My dad is a pastor. So I'm a PK, a pastor's kid. Very black church in the south end of Seattle. But our family, we lived in Bellevue, Washington, which is predominantly white. And so I would go back and forth. It was like living two different lives, switching, because we'd be at church every night for service and for Bible study and for choir rehearsal and everything. And then during the day and the week, I would be at school, with all my white friends. And I was the only black girl in all of my classes from kindergarten through 12th grade.
Wow.
It was like living two separate lives. And so I would always get from people, is that your real voice? Like, I know.
The universal, you speak so well.
Exactly.
For a black girl.
Exactly. You speak so well for a black girl. That's what I would get from on like the white people's side. They'd be like, you're so articulate, or you speak so well, or you sound, so proper. And then on the black side, everybody would be like, is that your real voice? You sound so proper. You sound so white. You sound like a white girl. You talk like a white girl. Like I got that all the time. And it was always so confusing for me and frustrating because I'm like, how does a white girl sound? How does a black girl sound? Like, what is it that they're hearing in my voice? And it literally, I still to this day am like, that's such a low vibrational, thing for people to say to someone or to observe about someone, in my opinion.
Fair. I mean, but it's real because I grew up in predominantly black neighborhood. I grew up around the project.
Yeah.
However, I got told a lot growing up, I am the whitest black girl.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is that? What does that mean?
What's the takeaway here? What are you, what is the note behind the note there? What are they really saying in that moment?
I'm not black enough, essentially, was the gist I took from it.
Right.
And in my mind, I'm just like, because in my mind, I'm like, there's not one way to be black.
Exactly.
And I feel like we really need to grasp that as people, as a community.
Uh-huh.
We're not a monolith. We always say this.
We are not. It's so true.
We're not a monolith. And things that are inherently white does not mean that I am acting white or being white.
Exactly.
It just means I have interests that might veer through an inherently white space.
Yes. And also, that's a them thing. That's something that they have come to that's something that they are living within, the boundaries that they have set up for themselves. But I used to take it as an offense, or not an offense, as like a reflection of me and who I am and my value and my self-worth. You know, and now as an adult, I now realize that that was a them thing. But I'm just me, and I'm great and amazing and all of that. And yes, I can, you know, modify my voice however way, you know, I do naturally without realizing it, you know, and that's a strength. That's like a superpower of mine that I did not realize before. So all that to say, I grew up hating my voice, never thought I would go into voice acting, you know, with this, because I would be like, you know, I just, you know, yeah, I just didn't see, I never even actually thought about voice acting as a career. Like I grew up watching, you know, cartoons, my favorites, DuckTales, Tiny Toons. What else is my favorite? Ren and Stimpy, another.
Who didn't love
that was
Ren
like
and
my
Stimpy?
favorite show growing up. We won't get into that. Another controversial. Anyway, but yeah, Ren and Stimpy, loved. Yeah, and so those were like the cartoons that I watched, but I never, you know, thought I want to do that, or I never even thought that's a thing you can do as a career, you know. Granted, back then they were using like the same voices over and over for everything. Like there was, you know, not as many voice actors as there are in today's generation. But yeah, I never thought about it as a career until I got to Los Angeles. I started performing sketch and improv comedy. I started learning to write for myself and write characters and create my own characters. And once I started performing these characters on stage, that's when people started being like, you should do voiceovers. And I'd be like, well, I don't know what that is. That's not what I moved here to Los Angeles to do. You know, I didn't come here to do voice acting. I came here to be a movie star, a TV and film movie star, a TV and film star, you know? And so, yeah, voice acting just was never a part of the plan.
She just made plan. But I think it's interesting, like when we talk about the plan that we have for ourselves, and then the opportunities that present itself to us, and we're just like, well, why? I'll try it, and like maybe, like what's the word? Maybe we should just be broadening what the plan could be, because you never know what's for you until you get there.
Absolutely, yeah, and you know, don't limit yourself, because I feel like as artists and creators, we should be walking into any space being like, yeah, I could do that. Yeah, I could do stunts. Maybe not stunts, but, you know, we are creative individuals, and I feel like that spans so many different areas. And like, yeah, if I can do these characters, of course I can do voice acting. I didn't even realize it. Like once I finally took my first voice acting class, I was like, oh, duh. This is literally what I've been doing, just now it's behind a microphone and not on stage. So yeah, it was so easy to transition into. I had so many characters and voices already that I had been, you know, developing and doing and performing, and yeah, so it was super easy.
What I'm curious about is, because as a performer, you got to do the CBS Diversity Showcase not once, but twice.
Yeah.
As a performer and as a writer.
Correct.
Now, I'm curious about, because I don't know if that's ever been done in CBS Diversity history, mind
there
you.
are a few of us.
Which is also still an incredible accomplishment.
Thank you.
But what was that audition process like, and how were they different?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'll try to make it quick. Totally So what happened was, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but the CBS Diversity Showcase, it had been going on for a very long time. It's created lots of multiple stars. Ego Wodum, my best friend, is one of them who she did the showcase, blew up after,
and had the most amazing piece of SNL history happen.
Yes, so freaking funny.
Which
is so funny because she does that character. We do that character all the time, like on FaceTime with each other. Nice. That's just like, it's a weird like voice we slip into, and then we'll just talk for hours, like
in that voice
and doing that character. Yeah. So, but now she's got a name for it and gave it a name, and it's so funny. Like Miss Eggy is her, stand-up comedian persona. It's perfect. It's so funny. But yeah, she killed that. But yeah, so the showcase, you get to do it. Thousands of people audition. They do the audition process in New York, in Canada, in Vancouver, in Toronto, in Chicago, Los Angeles, obviously. They go all over. Mm-hmm. So thousands of people are auditioning. And it used to be ran by these two people at CBS named Fern and, now I can't even remember the other guy's name. Rick. Fern and Rick. And they ran the showcase for a very long time. And the year that I auditioned was the final year that both of them would be running it. Yeah. So my first year auditioning, this was my first time auditioning too, because multiple people auditioned multiple times. My first year auditioning, they told me my characters weren't Black enough. I didn't get in, and I was told that the reason was because my characters weren't Black enough. Because Rick and Fern, they, let's just say like Fern's claim to fame at CBS as the lead casting director there was that she cast Baywatch.
Continue.
The TV show.
I won't touch it. Go ahead.
Exactly.
I'm gonna let it stay. How about
yes, they were very much into like, stereotypes and identifying like who's going to get cast as what. Oh, well, she's obviously going to be cast as like the blonde bombshell. So we've got to put her in a swimsuit, and we've got to put her in a short, tight dress, and like that's what she needs to be. And or him, he's going to be a hunk. He's got these muscles, and he can only play that hunk type. He's going to be a heartthrob. Like they only saw things in that. Which, granted, the times back then, this was like pre-Me Too movement and all of that. Mm-hmm. That's how they were casting things. And so they were keeping people, checking boxes, basically. And so that's how they would select people. So I was told that my characters weren't Black enough, and so I didn't get in. So the second year I auditioned, I came back with all my characters who were rolling their neck, and mm-hmm. I wrote all different characters, and I was like, I'm going to book this. And so I did that because I was like, I got to get cast in this showcase. And I ended up getting cast. And then we started the rehearsal process, which it's like a 3.5 month process. It's very intense. You don't, prior to their departure, also, it wasn't a paid showcase either. So a lot of people would go and be a part of this 3-month long process where you're rehearsing all day at CBS Studios mm-hmm. in a basement with no food, no snacks, people were losing their jobs. Like people were getting parking tickets. It was atrocious, process.
I'm like, there's some laws broken in there.
Exactly. there really was. And it was like, if you want to do this, if you want to make it and succeed, you have to just do it and just accept it and take it. And so I started that process, and then thankfully halfway through, Fern ended up getting fired. Rick ended up getting fired. Like literally, they just didn't show up one day, and we were all like, "What happened?" This is some tea. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be sharing all of this.
I mean, hey.
But this is what happened. Anyway, so they got fired, and we got new directors in. And then I got to do all the characters that I originally wanted to do, and that were exciting to me and that I was excited about. Like being this cowgirl. I wanted to play this cowgirl, which was like one of my, sketches that got put in the showcase. And it just was such a fun process. That was also the year that they, then they like gave us snacks and water throughout the rehearsal process. We ended up getting paid. We got stipends for that whole 3-month long process. We got a red carpet, like red carpet premiere, that hadn't been done before. And then, and so it was so much fun showcase. Like it's like a week and a half long of showcases, all throughout the day. I think we did 2 shows a day. And it's where, all the casting directors, agents, managers, producers, everyone in Los Angeles comes to watch. Yeah. So it's great exposure. But even after that showcase, I got a ton of odd people being like, we have this voiceover audition. You should do it. You should do that. So that was around the time too that I ended up booking my first voiceover job, 2018 for Marvel, Avengers Assemble.
Which is amazing.
Thanks.
Also.
Thanks.
How was that experience?
Oh my gosh.
Doing voiceover in Marvel.
Right. Wild, because at that time, Black Panther was coming out. It was like coming, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm a part of this huge Marvel franchise, and I'm a part of the Black Panther, what do you call it, like network or something? Wakanda universe. Thank you.
There you go.
Yes, I'm a part of the Black Panther universe. My character was Bossk, the Queen of Wakanda, which she is mentioned in the movie in Black Panther. So originally, when I auditioned, her name was Bast, B-A-S-T, and then they found out that she was going to be in the film, like called out in the film, so they had to change my name to Bossk. But that's who, when they when Black Panther, fake dies, yes. And they pour what's the juice, the liquid? Oh,
we're gonna call it Black Panther powers.
Black Panther powers? Oh, what's the liquid called? It's glowing.
It's purple. I just don't remember the actual name. I'm saying Black Panther powers.
Black Panther juice, we'll call it. And it gave him his powers, and they call upon Bast. That's my character.
Our ancient one.
Yes. Anyway, so, so showcase was great. During that time, I booked Avengers Assemble, and then they brought me back again the next year as a writer, and which was great because, let me tell you this story too. How much time do we have? I'll try and make it quick. So when I moved to Los Angeles in 2012, and I immediately started doing improv at IO West Theater, which is now gone, RIP, which was founded and formed in Chicago by Sharna Halpern, and she brought the theater to LA. Anyway, this is all irrelevant. Anyway.
Why not? People need to learn some history.
Okay, that's good. Yes. So Sharna Halpern and Del Close, they're synonymous with like the founding of improv anyways. And so she started this theater, IO, Improv Olympics, and brought it to Los Angeles. And so that's the theater that I started at performing and learning about improv, because I didn't know about improv. I went to school in Washington, D.C. at Howard University.
Shout out to Howard, HU.
Woo, woo, woo. HU, And I moved to Los Angeles. I majored in theater, moved to LA, immediately started doing improv, and had no idea what it was originally. I know. And once I took like a free intro to improv class, I was like, oh yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm a weirdo. This is fun. This is like, I'm rolling around pretending to be a tree or leaf or, And I was like, yes, this is me. And so I started doing that, and I got they were at this time they were looking for a Black woman to be on Saturday Night Live. There hadn't been one since like the original cast, and so they were doing this whole big nationwide search for a Black woman to cast for SNL. And so I was like, the artistic director at IO was like, you should audition. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you should audition. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. And he's like, just do 5 minutes of characters. And I was like, okay. So then I panicked, started trying to write my characters. And I did it. I was in the showcase, performing for like SNL casting and all that stuff. And I did it, and nothing happened. But there was a producer in the audience that night, and he ended up reaching out to me like a few months later and was like, hey, I'm doing this showcase for NBC. Would you like to be a part of that? I thought your set was really funny. Your characters were great. I think you should do this because we're going to be making a TV show off of it. It's like an SNL, but it's scripted comedy. And so I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. It was like my first like big thing. I had to get an agent to like, negotiate the contract. And it was like a huge deal, And so I got to do that. And it was like 2 weeks long of like rehearsals. And we were building a showcase to then pitch to be a television show. And so, yeah, it was really, really cool. Chris Redd was in it. He was like a performer in it as well. Nice. Tim Baltz was a writer. Deanna Reasonover, she's a good friend of mine who's now on NCIS. She also did the CBS showcase. She was in this showcase with us. And I didn't know anything. I had no idea what I was doing.
You're just like, I didn't know anything.
I truly knew nothing about like writing. The characters that I did was like a girlfriend acting like a dog when her boyfriend came home. Like that's in my head. I was like, I'm writing something.
And I feel like that's somebody's life right now. It's just like, not even to be funny. I feel like that's somebody's life as you say
it's
that.
true. I mean, I think that's what like the producer saw. He was like, this girl doesn't know what she's doing, but there's potential here, looking back. And so yeah, I got to do that showcase. And I remember like the first day they were like, all right, let's get together and we're going to write some blackout sketches. And I was like, what's a blackout sketch? Like, I don't know what a blackout sketch is. And I remember like going home and crying to my boyfriend and being like, I don't know anything. This is so stressful. And I went back. He helped me and write like some blackout sketches, and I turned those in. But I say all of that to say, I did that showcase, and then the next year, or like a few years later, I ended up doing the CBS showcase, and it was like night and day, difference, because I had then, after that showcase, the TV show didn't go anywhere, but I ended up staying in classes. And so I was at IO. I started performing, regularly on a sketch team. Then I went to UCB Theater and I started performing there. I took their sketch, program. I took their improv program. I was performing regularly on a mod team, which is their sketch teams. And being a performer at UCB, I got to learn about pitching and writing jokes and just learning from our writers on our sketch team. And so then once I got in the CBS showcase, I knew so much more. And he used to call me Ashleigh Banks because we would pitch, we were writing all day, every day, and like pitching sketches and putting up sketches and stuff. And so when something would get banked, everybody would be excited and cheering and all of that, which meant that it was in the running to be in the showcase, if you bank a sketch. So they would call me Ashleigh Banks because all my sketches kept getting banked. And I was like, wow, I'm so proud of myself.
Well, it's also the progress, and also the importance of continuing to do classes. Is you're never too late. It's never too late to continue to learn.
It's never too late.
And I think that's what a lot of people do. That it's not a mistake. It's just like when you think there's nothing to learn.
Yeah.
If you think there's nothing left to teach you.
Oh my gosh.
Like no one completely knows everything.
No. You should always be learning, growing, evolving, pushing, stretching, trying new things. And yeah, it speaks to like not just like the growth and the experience, but like the resilience too. Because after that first one, I was so embarrassed that I didn't like, get selected and the show didn't go anywhere. That first showcase, I could have been like, well, I guess my career is over and, left Los Angeles, which some people do that. They're like, they get told no one time and it's like, well, I'm done here, But yeah, it was like, no, I'm going to keep going, get better, get stronger, learn how to write strong jokes, all of that, and keep going, It's so important.
Yeah.
Not
definitely.
above classes. I love learning. And
No, you're just like, I love it. No, I love it. No, you're just like, yeah, I love learning.
I do.
And we're done. That's a wrap. That's a wrap.
I do.
Now, what I'm curious about, because after the CBS Diversity Showcase, you also started freelance writing.
Yeah.
And then you became a full-time staff writer.
Oh my gosh.
I believe on a show that a lot of people love called Craig of the Creek. And what was that experience like to go from a freelance writer to a full-time staff writer? Because not only are you writing for the show, you're also a character in the show.
Yeah. So that was really fun. So what happened with that is the best story. I love telling it because it's so bizarre. So the second voiceover job I booked was Craig of the Creek. And I started voice acting on that show. So fun. Was going in. Also was, still getting comfortable being in a booth and being, working with directors and writers. They'd be on the other side of the booth and, just still getting comfortable with that. But I would go in, and every time I'd go in, I'd just make friends. And, Jeff Trammell, right? Love him to pieces. He was the head writer on Craig of the Creek at that time.
Okay.
And so I would go in, small talk, whatever. We'd talk about Comic-Con and just things like that. And that was it. We became friends on Facebook. And so during this time, from like 2013 to 2018 was just nonstop auditioning. So I'm like taking classes, auditioning, and performing. And that was it. Like that was my life all day, every day for like that whole 6-year span. And I was getting burnt out because I was like, I was booking things here and there, but I was also like, this is my everyday job. Like commercials, I was going out nonstop for commercial auditions too. And so I was like, I need money. And meanwhile, all my friends, I had friends who were like booking things and getting writers, gigs, and they were making money. So I was like, wait a second, I've been putting in all this work and I'm, taking classes. I know how to write. I did the CBS showcase twice. I've had a staff, or my first like writer's assistant job. I had that as well under my belt. I was like, I'm ready for, a writer's room job, a real job. I need some money. And so
Heavy on the I need money.
I need money. And so I posted that I was looking for writing jobs on Facebook. And I very specifically was like, hey, everyone, I'm looking for writing jobs. I, am a writer and a performer on Maude. I've been there for the last 4 years. I am, I did the CBS showcase. I was a writer's assistant on this Fox pilot. I have a sketch packet, a pilot writing sample. If you hear of anything, please think of me. And that was it. And I just posted that on Facebook, and unbeknownst to me, Jeff saw that post and pitched to bring me in. I ended up getting an email from the line producer on Craig of the Creek like a few weeks later, and all it said was, hey, Ashleigh, we heard you're looking for writing jobs. Would you like to come in and sit in on a room? And I was like, what? Where did this come from? Oh my gosh.
Is this real?
Yeah. I was like, what the heck? Is this happening? How? And so, I learned later that Jeff had pitched to bring me in. But so I went in, panicked again, because I was like, I've never done this before. So I reached out to Haley Mancini, who was a writer on Powerpuff Girls, and she was also one of my sketch team directors in the past. And so I was like, oh my God, Haley, I got this email. They invited me in to Cartoon Network to sit in on a room. And mind you, I had been on interviews before at Cartoon Network, and I didn't get the job. And so I was like, I really, want to make a good impression and do well. And she graciously met up with me for coffee, and she was like, you're going to be fine. Here's what's going to happen. She was like, you know how to write, you know how to pitch, you know how to create worlds, you know how to write jokes, you know how to create characters. You're going to be okay. And I was like, okay. So then I went home, watched on YouTube, paid for the whole season for seasons 1 and 2 of Craig of the Creek, bought them on YouTube, watched all the episodes, wrote down in a journal what I thought was the structure for writing an episode of television. And I was like, okay, this happens here. It seems like there's an inciting incident here. Here's how they structure like the beginning. Here's the dialogue that they used. And I was like, okay, I feel, like I'm ready. And so then I went in, and lo and behold, it was great. She was right. It was so easy. Everyone was so kind. Matt Burnett, Ben Levin, Tiffany Ford, Jeff Trammell just welcomed me in. And at the time, Cody Ziegler, Cody?
Yes.
Okay, so Cody and I started on Craig of the Creek at the same time. Yeah. He's the best. We discovered we're related in that writer's room.
Okay.
Crazy. But yeah, so it just was meant to be, is the point I'm getting at. So we went in, this was both of our first staff writing jobs. And, we were in there, and it was so easy. So, cozy, welcoming, kind. We were just pitching ideas. I went in right as we were starting to build out the capture the flag arc. And so I was like, whoa, this is a lot, but I'm all in. I'm listening. I'm here to support, pitch, whatever you all need. And so, yeah, it was great. And then they just kept inviting me back week after week, as a freelance writer. And I would literally just go in for 2 hours a day. And I was nervous because I wanted to do well. I would literally sit in the parking lot before going in and tell myself positive affirmations before going in and be like, you are funny. You got this. People love your ideas. People laugh at your jokes. You have such great energy. Someone's going to tell you after this meeting that you were hilarious. You're so funny. And I just was envisioning how I wanted the meeting to go and how I wanted to feel after. I would do that before going into writers' meetings.
And it's not like your affirmations were lies either, because you are funny. You are talented.
Wow.
Your aura is amazing.
Who knew? I had to tell myself and remind myself, your own voice is the strongest voice in the room, in your head and in the room. And I learned that in practice during that season of my life, because it did work. And then they did keep inviting me back. And then how much time do we have? 2020, January 2020 is when they invited me on to be a full-time staff writer.
And 3 months later.
And 3 months later, the dang pandemic hit.
And it's crazy because when the pandemic hit, March, you're okay, maybe it's only going to be a week or a month. Okay, no one thought almost 2 years we'd be stuck inside the house.
I know. And I remember our last day, and I had just moved into my office. I had an office. I was just getting acclimated, filling up my little cabinet, my little drawers with goodies and treats. My first desk, my first name placard on the outside of the wall. I was like, I'm a real writer. And then they were like, all right, we're going to let you guys go home. Good luck.
We'll give you more information.
See what happens. Yeah. They were like, we don't know exactly when we'll be back in the building, but we'll see you online. And luckily, animation blew up during the pandemic. So, I forgot to tell you this part too. So once I got invited to be a full-time staff writer, I emailed my agents and I was like, okay, I got a job. Sorry, gotta go. And my agents were like, ooh, if you take this writing job, we will no longer consider you an actor. And this is going to like basically ruin your career. And they were like, are you sure you want to do this? You just got a new manager. You're not going to be available for auditions. Because mind you, when I was coming in for like freelance writing, I was asking some of the storyboard artists to record my self-tape auditions, like in another room. Like that's how busy and active I was at that time. I was like doing multiple things and I'd be recording. I remember recording self-tapes in the bathroom at Cartoon Network.
I mean, first of all, commitment is amazing.
Commitment, yeah. And so my agents were like, we won't consider you an actor if you take this full-time writing job. And I was like,
Jesus. I got to do what I got to do.
I was like, I need money. I need some money.
Money is important.
Money is important. Do what you got to do. You know, don't listen to do what you got to do to survive.
Especially because as agents, like you only make money if you make money. So if I'm not making money, you're not making money. So if I can't make no money, can you make money?
Yeah. So yeah. So I ended up taking the job, thank God, because then everything shut down after that. But animation kept going and blew up. So 2020, we ended up getting a greenlit for a spinoff series, Jessica's Big Little World. We ended up getting greenlit for season 5 of Craig of the Creek. We ended up getting greenlit for a spinoff prequel movie for Craig of the Creek. I ended up selling my own TV show, my own animated series to Netflix, all in 2020. So I say that to say, do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do. And yeah, it was the busiest I'd ever been, 2020 to 2021, really 2020 to 2022. That was like the craziest span because I was living in my studio apartment, trapped with COVID all around, couldn't go anywhere, but I was alone working nonstop. It was like meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting because, I had nothing but time and I couldn't go anywhere. So my manager, he could just throw in meetings back to back to back. So there was a time where I was working on 3 different projects at one time. I remember that was my show in development at Netflix, Jessica and Craig. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, and then 2021, I booked Tiny Toons.
And I really because you grew up on Tiny Toons, so I really wanted to also touch on that to be like, what was it like to, first of all, be cast as Babs and then essentially get to live out your dream that you had as a kid watching the show?
Yeah. That was crazy. So what happened there was I had a dear friend, Joan Ford, who she was also a former sketch director of mine, and she was now a writer on Tiny Toons. And so she emailed me and she was like, hey, I'm writing on Tiny Toons, the upcoming new reboot. And she was like, I think you should audition for something. Like, you'd be good. And I thought of you. And I was like, great, okay. So she sent it to me and she was like, here's Babs and Shirley. And I was like, cool. There's no way they're going to cast me as Babs. Just number one, I was like, that's, they're going to cast some young teeny bopper influencer with like thousands of followers, And so I was like, I'll just do one for Shirley, send an audition. So, another thing too is that Joan was like, here's the showrunner's email, reach out to her so she can give you some information about the project. Turns out Erin Gibson, the showrunner, I had worked with previously on one of her shows. Like she had a show that was like a sketch, live action sketch comedy show. And she didn't remember me at all. But I got to like meet with her and just chat with her over Zoom about the project. And she was like, it's a little bit like Fame meets A Different World. And I was like, oh, yeah, I grew up on both of those shows. Like, I know I'm very familiar with Fame, very familiar with A Different World. Like, so this is black. I was like, this is a black Tiny Toons, right? And yeah, so I was like, great. I identify with both of those, influences. So I went in, did an audition for Shirley. And that's what it was. I recorded an audition for Shirley. Then I got the audition again through my actual voiceover agents. And they were like, here's Babs. And I was like, and Shirley. And I was like, I already, sent in an audition for Shirley. And they were like, why didn't you do Babs? And I was like, oh, well, I don't know.
I'm not going to admit the real reason why I thought this, but
yeah.
I just don't know.
And they were like, yeah, do the audition. And so I was like, okay, but if I'm going to do this, then I need to do it right, because Babs Bunny is an iconic character, and that's the lead role. We're talking big time. Babs and Buster Bunny. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so, and I loved Babs. That was my favorite character in Tiny Toons growing up, So I was like, if I'm going to do it right. So I got a voiceover coach, and I went in my little closet in my studio apartment, and she got on Zoom, and she helped me through my audition. And she was like, you have an improv background. Let's find some places to incorporate some improv. And I was like, great. And so we did that, and which I'm a huge proponent of improv, and I've used improv in every aspect of my career so far. I cannot, express enough how much of a tool improv is for everything, from pitching meetings, pitching TV shows, like improv, running a room, everything, being anywhere, auditions, all of that improv. It's essential. It's so important. And so, yeah, for my audition for Babs Bunny, there was a part in the script that was just, action dialogue where Babs arm wrestles Granny. And it just is like, all it literally said was Babs wrestles Dean Granny. Mm-hmm. And that was it. But I went in and out. She was like, oh, this is a great place to improv. And I was like, okay. So I went in, my audition, I milked that whole moment. And I basically had a huge, just like, oh, goody, I'm going to get to what you eat today? Why are you so strong? You're gonna go down. You're gonna go. Like, made a whole like moment of that arm wrestling moment, and then I got an email. I got an email, and they were like, "All right, you got a call back for Shirley." And I was like, of course, great, sure, whatever. And so I got a call back for Shirley, and they were like, can you send another take in, just going faster? And I was like, okay. So I did that, sent in another audition, waited, forgot about it, whatever. Didn't think I was going to book it. And then I got an email later, and it was like, hey, you booked Babs Bunny.
And you freaked out.
And I freaked out. I ran back and forth, maybe 3 feet in my studio apartment. And they called. It was like my manager, all my agents, all on one like conference call. And everyone was so happy. And I was like, what the heck? Are you sure?
Did you want them to take it back?
I was just so shocked. I was like, that's not real. That's not real. Babs Bunny in Tiny Toons. That's huge. So excited. I was so excited. And then they sent the email, actually, like to confirm. And it said, congratulations, you booked Bugs Bunny Builders. And I was like,
I thought it was.
I know. So that was just a little, they messed up there. But it did. I was like, well, maybe it's not real, because but it was real. And then she followed up. She was like, typo.
I mean, we saw the Deadline post. It was very real.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, granted, anything on Deadline, that's how you know it's
Right. Yeah.
that's
yeah,
when
yeah.
you know we're serious.
That's for real. For real. Yeah. Yeah.
There's no margin for error.
Yeah. And then, so Tiny Toons, that's a whole other story. We might have to do a part 2 about just like navigating voiceovers because I learned so much during that process as well, you know, of like being a series regular on a legacy TV series. Just a lot of pressure.
I mean, speaking of navigating, we have to talk about navigating a fan favorite show, a beloved fan favorite show, where you are not only starring as the lead, but you are exec producer, you are creator, you write for it.
Yeah.
And I want to know, how long would you say the process was from development, pitching, to green light, to actually filming?
Yeah.
And then the second or third part of the question, because I'm like, I feel like I asked 2 in there.
No worries.
Were you always the choice in mind for Hazel?
Okay. So what happened was I was head writing on Jessica's Big Little World. And this was still pandemic. I'd been going on meetings at Nickelodeon had a general meeting with Claudia Spinelli. It was like the VP of programming, I think. And we had a great general meeting. And she was like, oh my God, you're amazing. I think, you have all this background in comedy and sketch, and you're physical comedy actor. She was like, I'm going to, see whatever we have available for you, all that stuff. And so she would just invite me in throughout the pandemic, or on Zoom, to have meetings to pitch, brainstorm for different shows, or to meet with the SpongeBob writers for no reason, just to ask questions. And I'd be like, oh my God, this is so cool, And so I had been building a rapport at Nickelodeon. So when they came to me, they were like, hey, they had already had Dave Stone and Lindsay K. My co-EPs, already were on the project. And shout out to Lindsay K. A white woman, a wonderful white woman, who had a background in improv as well at UCB. And so we had known each other. We hadn't performed together, but we knew of each other. And so she was going to be the only, writer on Fairly OddParents. They came to her and they were like, we're doing a Fairly OddParents reboot. She, do you have any ideas? So she had been involved with the process from the very beginning, sitting in on brainstorms and coming up with okay, well, what is this show? What do we want to see? What do we want to do? Do we want a new God Kid? Do we want, Cosmo and Wanda to come back? All of that stuff. So she was involved early on. And then at some point they were like, okay, we do want this new God Kid to be a person of color, and so Lindsay was like, oh, okay. Well, if you want, this new God Kid to be a person of color, you should probably consider bringing in a person of color in one of these executive positions. And they were like, oh yeah.
like it didn't occur. I mean, sometimes you just gotta, make sure the option's there.
Yeah. And thank God for her speaking up about that, using her platform and her position. And so she said that, and they were like, yeah. And they were like, but who? Where are they? Where could they be? And so she was like, I know of someone, because she and I, throughout pandemic, one of the other writing jobs that I had was I was writing for this show called Wolf Boy and the Everything Factory on Apple TV. And so she was one of the freelance writers on that also. And we had only worked together over Zoom, and so we knew each other through this Zoom writers room that we had. And she was like, yeah, this girl, her name's Ashleigh. She does improv, sketch. She does voice acting. We should reach out. She might be interested. And they were like, oh, yeah, we know Ashleigh.
And yet it didn't continue.
And so they reached out, and I love them. This is not a knock on anybody at all, just so everyone is clear.
We're just stating facts.
Yeah, this is how it happened. And so they were like, yeah, we know Ashleigh. She's been, doing all this stuff. She's been coming in, whatever. And so then they reached out and they were like, hey, we have this opportunity, we are making a new Fairly OddParents reboot. And this is a potential opportunity for you to come on as a co-executive producer and a co-story editor and potentially be a voice actor in the lead role. And I was like, okay, that's not, like, that's too much. That's a lot that you're telling me right now. I was like, I truly was like, there's no way that I can do all of that. And so then I met with Lindsay and Dave. The meeting went great. And then I met with Claudia and Jason McConnell, who were like the EPs on the show. And and that meeting went great. And they were like, okay, great. So you're in. And I was like, cool. So then I ended up doing it. And then Lindsay and I started writing, and we wrote the Bible, came up with all of the characters, started writing Hazel, all of that. So anytime I would be like, we'd be pitching all of this stuff and like talking, they're hearing Hazel's voice as mine. So originally, no, I was not supposed to, I was not automatically going to be cast as Hazel. It was always like, if you're interested, there's the possibility. And so in my mind, I thought like, I just didn't feel like I wanted to be diplomatic about it, of course, and put it, I know I was involved in the writing process and the development process and all of that, but I was like, we should, I can't just step into white guys do it all the time, apparently. I didn't realize.
Phineas the Ferb. As an example.
They do it all the time. And so we don't essentially always realize the power that is within us. I could have done it. But anyway, so I auditioned. We had auditions. I auditioned. And really, okay, I'll say this too. I got an email from casting and I had booked one role. At Nickelodeon, I booked a role on the Loud House, and but I had been going in for auditions, and I had been getting callbacks for things. So I had gotten close a few times to like booking a series regular role, but I hadn't booked anything. And so when casting found out that I was coming aboard, they were like, "You were the person we had in mind from the beginning." And I just thought that was so sweet because I was like, "Oh my gosh, you never know who's like really rooting for you, behind the scenes, who's cheering for you, who's thinking of you." So that should be just to put that out there, like something to, let sink in or something to remember. But so they said that, and I was like, that's so kind. I appreciate that. Maybe I will audition. So then I did the audition process, and then I ended up booking it. I ended up booking it. I got a call back for myself. And then I ended up booking it.
And Hazel is so like adorable, and
she's so
precious. I love it's like it's her natural hair, it's her afro, it's the gap. Because that is because that's like some most Black kids as kids who have gaps are always made fun of because of that gap instead of it's just being seen as another form of what makes them unique and what makes them beautiful. And Hazel is beautiful. She's an adorable child with so many interests.
Her little spirit is just so precious and a gem. She's truly a gem. I know. I love her.
Have you seen the cosplays people have done of Hazel?
Yes, I have.
How does that make you feel?
It feels good. It feels sweet. I remember when I saw my first like cosplay of Ren too, it evoked the same feeling of just like pride and just like, I feel so fortunate to be able to create characters that other people see themselves in, and that other people can identify with and relate to and are excited about and are excited to embody. That's such a huge, I don't know, it's like, it's so powerful. So yeah, I feel very, very inspired whenever I see it. And yeah, so just to see Hazel or little Gab, oh, precious.
Can you explain what a story editor is? Because I've always wanted to know, and as you're one for the show,
Sure.
what is that?
Okay, so story editors really is a title, but the head writer is also another term that is a similar role. But basically, story editor is responsible for coming in and shaping the story of the series. So we oversee the, writing process for the series. So Lindsay and I were both co-story editors on Fairly OddParents, but you basically come in, crafting the story arc for the series. You're also responsible for running the writer's room, so overseeing all of the different writers, and the scripts and all of that. We're responsible for revising all of the scripts, turning those scripts into our executives. We sit in on all of the writers' meetings, or run the writers' meetings, but also sit in on all of the notes meetings with executives. So we are the liaison between the writers' room and the executives.
Which also happen to you be a part of. So it's like,
because
you're also the executive, so that's also makes it funny.
Well, I mean, our Nickelodeon executives,
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
yes, our development executives. So they're, they have to read everything that we write, and then they give us notes on it, and then we have to then translate those notes for our writers. And yeah. We also wrote. So I wrote 3 episodes for Fairly OddParents too. I guess that's a writer job, but as story editor, we oversee that writing process.
Yeah. And what I'm curious about is, because there's been, when it first was announced that they were bringing Fairly OddParents back, and the fact that the main protagonist was going to be a person of color.
Yeah.
The response was what you expect. From people not understanding that Timmy's no longer
for this one. Oh, Lordy.
That just Timmy's no longer going to be here. However, I will say I've seen the shift.
Yeah.
The shift has been amazing to see.
Good.
People immediately, because it was immediate hate just because Hazel was Hazel. She was a black little girl, and she was going to get godparents.
Yeah.
And it was very
Cosmo and Wanda.
She's like Cosmo and Wanda. And everybody's so protective essentially of the original.
Yeah.
And I have seen the shift. I would love to say, like, the hate has shifted.
Good.
Also, did you know the Fairly OddParents, A New Wish, is the highest rated among the entire franchise by fans?
What?
It has the highest rating among fans in the franchise.
I did not know that. That's exciting.
So I throw that in there.
Oh, take it. I appreciate that. That's exciting. Cool.
And also, congratulations. We have to say on winning your GLAAD Media Award
for
outstanding children's programming. How does that feel?
That's so cool. It's amazing. Yeah. Feels great. Feels amazing. I know. We have to shout out for sure Jason McConnell, who was one of our Nickelodeon executives, who from the very beginning, was a champion for including a non-binary character as one of Hazel's besties. And Lindsay and I both were like totally on board right away. We were like, yes, we love it, of course. And yeah, little fact about Win is that this isn't anything important. But I was obsessed with Russell Wilson and Sierra's son. They had just had their baby Win. I don't know if I needed to say this, but
I mean, it's already out there.
Well, okay. Well, that's where the name Win came from.
So if you're seeing this, you inspired the character.
Because I was obsessed with that baby. He was so cute at that time, and I was like, let's name Win Win. And
I mean, Win is always going to win at life. Exactly. With a name like that, you can't help but
I
to
know.
At that point.
Yeah.
Like, you're meant for greater things.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. And we used, yeah. So that's Win. We love them. And very grateful for the GLAAD nomination.
We also had an Emmy nomination as well.
We did, yeah, for opening titles.
And how did you feel being nominated? Because obviously I feel like it's a little bit different from Craig of the Creek because you're a writer, but this one is essentially a baby you helped co-create.
Yes, correct.
So how did that feel?
Amazing. Amazing. We always knew from the beginning that this show was good, in spite of all the outside dialogue about it and people's hesitancy to accept it. We were like, this is a dang good show. Like, it's beautiful. It's like art is gorgeous. The design, like the CG aspect of it is different and fresh and fun, especially for this new series. We have a character that is, a strong protagonist. It's funny. It's heartfelt. It has all of the things. So we were really excited going in to present this to the fans and to the world, and just to see it, blossom and grow as a little baby. And it feels really good to see or to receive any kind of recognition for all of that, because our team worked really hard. We're a four-headed beast: Dave Stone, Daniel Abramovich, me, Lindsay K-Tai, Patrick Morgan, our art director, all of our writers, all of our storyboard artists. Like, everyone just was, we came in and didn't really know, because, like you said, this is such a huge fan base, and Fairly OddParents is one of Nickelodeon's biggest legacy shows. So there's a lot to live up to, I guess. And I don't want to say live up to, but there's a lot that precedes it. And so there was a little bit of us getting used to the rhythm of things and us being confident in the choices we were making, because we were like, this is different. It's definitely different. That's one thing we can say, is that it's different.
I mean, especially because animation style wise, it's not the same 2D animation like the Fairly OddParents. It is more of a CGI animation, and it is brighter, and more vivid. Yeah. And was that a decision you always knew you were going to move away a little bit from 2D to CGI?
Yes, that was Dave and Daniel from the very beginning. They were both our two co-EPs on the design side. So Lindsay and I were on the writing side, and Dave and Daniel were on the design side. And they were really inspired by the Peanuts movie, and they were like, it's going to be like that. Like, that's the vibe we're going for. And Lindsay and I were like, sounds good to us. We don't know anything about CG. And it was a learning curve. Like, we had to really learn, what that meant for a show like this, like all of the parameters, because there's, specific things that we could and couldn't do as writers, like things that we could and couldn't incorporate into the show. You won't see a lot of water. You won't see a lot of fire. Like, how 2D Fairly OddParents was like explosions and, floods and just so much action happening. You can't do that with CGA because it's expensive, it's time consuming, and it's complex. So we had to stick to we had to learn what all we could do. We had to get very creative and be resourceful with our props and with our set pieces, our environments, a lot of reuse, a ton of reuse for things. And as story editors, that's something we had to relay to our writers as well. So making sure that a lot of our, scripts and ideas for stories weren't so dynamic that they're just we can't do that. We would just get told we just can't change it. We can't do it.
And obviously we saw some familiar characters from the OG. We had Return of Vicky. Yeah. We had AJ. Yeah. We also had Poof, but we can't call him Poof. We had a name change. And for those who don't know, can you explain why there was a name change?
Oh, yes. Poof was a slur in the UK, we were told. So, yeah.
So we changed it.
Yeah.
So he could still
We wanted to do something different for Perry anyways. We were like, well, what is Perry like now as an adult? Perry was always going to be brought. Let me make sure I don't say anything I'm not supposed to say say. But yeah, no, Perry was always going to be brought back. And so we were already, thinking of how we can update, their look and just like, what is Perry's world now. So once we discovered that we couldn't say poof anymore, we had to go and change everything. But we were like, yeah, this is great. This makes sense, I think, anyways. You grow up and you don't want to be called, your childhood, name. Like, yeah, it felt very in line with Perry's, everything he's got going on.
He had a lot actually going on.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I want to know, have you seen all the Hazel Dev
Devzel.
Yeah, the Devzel.
Hashtag Devzel.
And I would would you think if the show gets renewed and they progress, do you see that actually happening, or is it more just like, why are we doing the enemies to lover? Why are we teaching that's an okay thing to do?
I know. I have a lot of thoughts on it, and I don't know who's going to be watching this. So I won't be so authentic here. Okay. No, I'll always be authentic. I just won't say
what I want to say.
What anybody wants to hear. No. Oh, what am I saying? I won't say our true thoughts.
I won't let the inner thoughts win.
Huh?
I won't let the inner thoughts win.
I know, right? So basically, no, I don't want to say that. It's open for interpretation, but we do see everything.
There's a foreshadow there. We'll say that. This could be.
You think so?
Because there's a when the dad is talking about getting I'm assuming with her mom and their friendship and being best friends and the whole pushing the fountain thing, and then there's and again, that's his own separate conversation we could have about that. But and then you see the foreshadow of him kind of pushing her into the fountain.
Yeah.
Maybe was that, or were we just looking too deeply for no reason?
That's on you all. Whatever you took from those moments. But I will say this: Hazel is her own woman, her own independent woman, and we are focused on telling Hazel's story. And because that's what she deserves. And she deserves only the best.
I agree with that.
Sweet little baby. She deserves the best. And, Dev's a great kid. He's got some things to work on out of his control. Mm-hmm. And I think Dev is also on his own journey as well. And I think they are a great support for each other, which is important, That's
all I'll say.
That's all I'll say. Yeah. Well, okay. So also, I don't know if this might be interesting or maybe we'll get sued. No, we won't get sued. But at the time when we were creating Dev's character, I don't know if there's a huge pop star, I won't say the name, rapper / pop star who has children by another famous person. They have 4 children. Three children? Anyways, this celebrity is very controversial, especially now, and also really kind of annoying, and very unlikable in this moment. And at the time we were creating Dev and Dale, they were big in the media. And there's a picture of this person and their young son at courtside at a basketball game. You could probably find it. But the dad is wearing these ridiculous, obnoxious boots. and this leather jacket, and they're just sitting there stone cold face, and their poor precious son is sitting right next to them, dressed exactly the same as dad. And they also have their boots on and their little jacket, and they have the little scowl on their sweet little baby face. And that was a big inspiration. I think I can say, that was a part of the world at the time when we were creating the dynamic between Dev and Dale.
Yeah.
And like if you pull up the picture, I don't know if you can show pictures, but yeah, if you pull it up, you'll see the similarities between Dale and Dev in that moment, or in life.
In life.
Yeah, it's a big inspiration because like Dev, it's out of his control. He's just mirroring what his father does,
As children do.
As children do. And they're so innocent and so precious. And I just always find that very interesting, how our parents can influence our lives and who we then grow up to be. So I say that to say there's hope for Dev, hopefully.
I have one final question before we wrap up. Do you have any details about the possibility of season 2 for the Fairly OddParents?
We're still waiting. We're still waiting to hear. We were supposed to hear back in January, and then we were supposed to hear back in March. And I think now, because of the sale of Paramount to, the merger between Paramount and Skydance, I think there are a lot of projects on hold right now where we just don't know. We were told, it's going to depend on the success of, how it does on Netflix and then we dropped on Netflix and broke all the records for a Nickelodeon series on Netflix. I think our Fairly OddParents, New Wish, and Avatar were like the only shows to break the top 10 in, top 10 U.S. watched TV shows. And I don't think Avatar hit number 1 for top kids TV shows on Netflix. So Fairly OddParents and New Wish did incredible on Netflix. And so we're like, fingers crossed, but we still haven't heard anything. We haven't heard back about, the specific numbers of how it did and how that might affect whether we get greenlit for a season 2. So fingers crossed. I think it all depends on this like merger and how that goes, because Skydance will then have, a say in what Nickelodeon does because it's a parent company. And so we just don't know yet. But fingers crossed.
Definitely fingers crossed.
It did so well. We're all desperate for work, and like we want to keep making shows. We want to keep, making this show specifically. We want to keep, exploring Win and Jasmine, and we want to see what other characters we can bring back. And, we want to keep, writing for Hazel and keep like building her world.
Well, I hope we get to see more of Hazel's world. Thanks. Thank you so much for joining me.
I hope so too. Thank you.
Hey guys, I definitely want to see more of Hazel and the world that the Fairly OddParents, A New Wish has brought us. Thank you guys so much for joining me here at The Media That Makes Us. Don't forget to like, subscribe here, and don't forget to follow the podcast where you can find all podcasts on other platforms. I'm your host, Chae Jones, and we'll see you next time.